Over the years, I've moved my shop a few times. Okay, more than a few. But every new space came with new organizational challenges, which usually means one thing: designing shop furniture to improve storage, workflow, and my sanity. But honestly, I love this stuff. Shop projects are so fun and weirdly therapeutic for me. When I'm feeling burnt out, reorganizing the shop somehow clears my head and recharges my batteries. So today, I'm revisiting a bunch of past shop projects, some small, some big, and all designed to solve real problems. If something catches your eye, links to the full videos and plans are going to be in the description. And let's start with one of the most fundamental jigs that you could build for a table saw, the Crosscut sled. Alright, first let's address the Italian elephant in the room. I look a little bit different. Now this was 15 years, 4 moves, and 2 kids ago. You'd look different too. But the flavor saver? That's unforgivable, and I apologize. Now, I first learned about crosscut sleds watching Woodworks. David Marks used one constantly. Later, seeing how much William Eng relied on them convinced me that it was time to build my own. At its core, a sled is simple: a base, 2 fences, and runners. But when built well, it delivers dead accurate, repeatable 90-degree cuts. So why not just use a miter gauge? But with the sled, the workpiece rides fully supported on the platform, square to the blade the entire time. That means the cuts have more control and improve safety, especially with larger parts. You'll notice the fence material is a little bit unusual. That's HDO, high density overlay. It's thick, stable, resin coated, and perfect for things like fences. To dial in the fence, I use the 5-cut method. It's effective, involves some math, and can absolutely drive you insane. And yes, in the original video, I adjusted the fence the wrong way and made it even more confusing. Nailed it! Eventually though, it worked exactly as intended. You might be wondering why you never see this sled anymore in my videos. Well, a few years ago, I upgraded to an Incra 5000 sled. Same idea, but it cuts virtually any angle and costs about $375. So if budget matters, a shop-made sled from scrap is a total no-brainer. No matter the saw, a crosscut sled is one of the best upgrades that you can make. You've definitely seen this one before. It lives in the background of almost every video I make. It's the compact plane till. As designed, it holds 7 planes, extra blades, and yeah, some toys. The case is solid cherry with tapered sides cut using the taper maker. By the way, plans and hardware are still available for these if you want to build your own. So there are 2 schools of thought when it comes to plane storage: hide them away or keep them visible and accessible. I'm firmly in the second camp. I like being able to turn around at the workbench, grab what I need, and get back to work. So having my planes on the wall behind my bench is absolutely the way to go for me. The back panel is plywood, so we won't have to fight seasonal movement, and if you build one of these, you'll want to lay out your planes first. The plan width is based on my collection, so unless you have the same exact planes I do, you'll want to plan ahead. You'll see me gluing in the dividers here. I wouldn't recommend that. Brad nails, pins, or even double-sided tape are all better ideas. I recently had to modify this thing for my new Wood River planes, and it would have been a whole lot easier if the dividers weren't glued in. Now, even though the planes sit at an angle which keeps them fairly secure, I added strong magnets to be as safe as possible. Protected, visible, and always within reach. Let's go! Oh man, this one brings back memories. Not all good ones. We were doing some ads for a little power station at the time and wanted to be in a space with limited power. The space also had limited heat in Missouri in December. Shout out to the unheated workshop peeps out there, you're better than me. Anyway, the project is an incredibly simple build made with 2x4s and 1x4s. A foot gets screwed on the upright, and those 2 legs then get connected with a couple of stretchers. Now for the adjustable part here, I'll use some 1x4s to create a simple mechanism that will allow us to raise and lower the support. And to lock the unit in place, I'll drill a series of holes so that we can pop dowels in there as stops. Admittedly, this would have been a lot better with a drill press and a brad point bit, but this is what you call make and do. A quick note to my editor Todd, whatever you do, don't let people see the wonky holes. Can you imagine if people could actually see how bad they are and they realize that I'm just human? I've got a serious reputation at stake here, and I certainly wouldn't want to risk that over a simple little project like this. Well, at least it's just our secret. Oh, hello! So this thing actually worked out pretty well. The challenge is getting the holes close enough together so that you have enough adjustment options. Oftentimes with this setup, you'll need to go a little bit lower than the perfect height. But for something so quick and easy to build, the trade-offs are worth it. When I moved into the Firehouse shop, I knew a big assembly table was inevitable. While I always built torsion boxes in the past, I've since realized that mostly flat is flat enough, so the construction on this one is far simpler. I start by making the base using some southern yellow pine. What's nice about this stuff is that it's relatively cheap, and while it starts out on the softer side, over time it loses moisture and the natural resin hardens. It actually becomes quite durable. The trick though is that this curing process can cause some stability issues, so if you can keep the board straight, it's not a bad material for things like shop furniture. The structure of the base is pretty straightforward. Legs are going to be just an L shape with stretchers and rails running between them, butt joints, glue, and screws for pretty much everything. For the top, I'm going with 2 sheets of plywood. Once screwed together, we can add some laminate for a nice durable work surface. In the base, we have some nice storage opportunity, so I added a clamp bar along the back and some pegboard on the sides. Inside the base, I'll have 2 nice pull-out drawers. Of course, this beast of a table is still in service today in my shop, and it gets used on every project. Back in 2018, my drill bit collection was in need of organization. It's a real shame to let them roll around a drawer and bag into each other. So the main case on this thing is made from 1/2-inch plywood. The joinery will be simple dados and rabbets, so nothing too crazy. And try to ignore the dork in the corner as you watch this thing come together. I decided to dress up the plywood edge by adding a little cherry trim. It really does give it a nice finished look. While some people might think it's overkill for shop furniture, I personally like to use my shop furniture as reinforcement for regular furniture making skills. Ever want to try something new? Practice on some shop furniture first. And speaking of dressing things up, the front gets a mitered cherry door with a plexiglass panel. To reinforce the corners, I'll add some splines. And man, it's been a while since I've seen this tenoning jig. I really need to use that thing more. This cabinet is really just a series of shelves, so you can customize it any way you want with nice little custom wood holders. To attach the door, I used a long piano hinge. And to hang this bad boy, I'm going to use a French cleat. While the cabinet is still in use today, I have been thinking about making a new one that's a little bit larger. Well, stay tuned for that. If you're looking to upgrade your shop, our sponsor Woodcraft has you covered with all the tools, materials, and inspiration you need. They've also got a great selection of shop furniture plans to help you get organized, like their router table plan, packed with storage for every bit and accessory you could think of, or the swivel top tool cabinet, a super clever way to maximize space and keep your tools accessible. And if mobility is your thing, check out their mobile tool cabinet, perfect for keeping your workflow flexible. You can find all these plans and a whole lot more at woodcraft.com. Big thanks to Woodcraft for sponsoring the show, and now let's get back to the shop projects. If you don't have a dedicated area for storage and charging of your portable power tools, you're really missing out. This charging station features 5 slots for drills, 2 shelves, and a side panel that's large enough for 2 chargers. It's all made from 3/4-inch plywood, and the primary construction is dados. The sides will get all the dados before cutting them to shape. The bottom is just another piece of plywood with some slots cut in to house the drills. You might want to modify my dimensions depending on the brand and types of tools that you'll be storing here. Is this guy using a hand plane on plywood? Yes he is. Now the glue up on this thing is pretty straightforward, and when your joinery is nice and snug, you really only need glue, though I wouldn't fault you for adding screws or dowels for reinforcement. On the last project, I talked about covering the plywood edge with solid wood to make it look nicer. Well, in this case, we're using Baltic birch, and I kind of like the way it looks with these nice stripes, so I just sand it and leave it as is. This charging station is still in use in the shop, but now that my shop is actually away from my house, I took the smaller drills home and only have a drill and an impact driver at the shop, so most of the slots go unused. Maybe it's time to do a little bit of drill shopping. Good shop cabinets are a game changer. The real advantage is customization. Every drawer, every compartment built exactly to your specifications. The biggest challenge that I had in this space was the slope of the floor, a 2¼ inch drop over 10 feet. So the easiest way that I know to deal with this is to keep the cabinets out of the leveling equation and instead build a level base. Using construction lumber and OSB, I could build 2 simple platforms and level those first. That then gives me a perfectly level platform to build my cabinets. The other bonus here is not having to include a toe kick in the cabinet design. Here's a quick look at what the structure will look like. It's a minimalistic design that uses as little material as possible, but does rely on being anchored to the wall for support. The left cabinet will have a bunch of drawers, and the right cabinet will have 2 doors and some pull-out trays. Now this is where things get really fun. You can customize this thing however you want. When you're building cabinets like this, the cost of the hardware can really add up, so while I've become a fan of undermount slides in recent years, it's really hard to argue with the cost savings of side mount slides, especially when you have to buy this many. Pretty much the only solid wood in this project is for the door frames. We could go with a simple plywood slab for the door, but I thought it might be nicer to dress it up a bit. Oh, and there's a little bit more solid wood here on the drawer fronts, just this trim for the plywood. I went with wide pieces, just to make it a little bit more of an intentional design look. The top is just MDF trimmed out with cherry. Now the fun stuff is getting organized and decking out the space. And I have to say, I do regret leaving those cabinets when we moved. Unfortunately, it's built for the space, I couldn't imagine taking it out, so the new owners got some nice cabinets. So here's a clever way to get more out of your drawer. Inspired by a kitchen drawer that had 2 sliding compartments, I decided to modify one of my existing drawers in the shop to get more bang for the buck. If you look at some of your shop drawers, I bet there are a number of them that don't use all the vertical space in the drawer box. Those are good candidates for this process. You first need to cut a portion of the drawer back away. About half the height should do it. A couple of 1/4-inch strips are added inside the box that act as runners for the upper tray. The tray itself is sized to fit inside the drawer box and doesn't really need to be anything fancy. When dropped in, it should slide back and forth easily. To prevent tipping, I'll add a couple of stops at the back. Now, if you want to make it fancy, you can plan out your dividers for whatever you need to store. For me, this was a game changer for all of my pencils, pens, and drawing aids. So this was one of the only times in 20 plus years of making videos that I filmed something with my fly down. And I really tried to make the most of it. A perfect start to a video about making bougie tool organization. Of course, that has nothing to do with this particular shop project. Actually, it's 4 projects. We'll start with an in-drawer chisel rack. The handle wells are made with a Forstner bit. With a series of holes in place, we can cut the piece in half, and then we've got a bunch of nice half circles. For the business ends of the chisels, we'll make a little strip with grooves. Of course, I had to complicate things by adding magnets into the strip to help hold the chisels securely. I actually have different chisels now, so this has been reconfigured a couple of times, but is still largely the same. Next is a rack for spoke shaves and cabinet scrapers. You can easily customize this for your own personal collection. Just lay out the tools and mark the locations of the handles. Again, we'll employ the Forstner bit and some clever cutting to end up with 2 identical supports. Now, having the supports tilt inward is not totally necessary. I just think it makes it look cooler. Next up, I've got a little storage for a router plane. I like the idea of storing both the router itself as well as any of the cutters and accessories that might go with it. When making holders like this, I usually let the tool itself dictate the dimensions and the angles. It seems more complicated than it is, but as long as the piece is balanced and won't fall with a light breeze, you're probably good to go. Now for the simplest holder in this set, a card scraper holder. It's literally just a series of bandsaw cuts into a block of wood. Not all scrapers are the same thickness, so you might need to make 2 passes for the thicker ones. Just keep in mind, the leftover wooden teeth are a little bit fragile, and if you put too much pressure on them, they will break. But check it out. So simple, so functional. Back in the Denver shop, I had a section of the wall where my plywood stock just kind of piled up. It was incredibly difficult to remove the sheets and get the stuff that I actually needed, so I wanted to design something that would be fixed to the wall, didn't take up more than about 4 feet of space, and would allow me to easily access any sheet that I need. The construction of this thing is pretty straightforward, and there's really something poetic about using plywood to store plywood, but we're basically making an open-ended box. You can make this thing as big as you want, just do the math on how many sheets you'll need to store and make sure you have that much space in the compartment. For this system to work, it really needs to be on casters so that it can pivot off the wall, and of course it needs to be attached to the wall at the back. I'm using some large gate hinges. Because my floor isn't level, I had to add a spring-loaded gate caster to the end for additional support. It actually worked pretty well. Even loaded up, this thing was pretty easy to move when needed and gave us easy access to all the materials without taking up much space. When I moved, I gave this cart away, but I kind of wish I had it back at the Firehouse shop. Maybe I'll build a new one. So I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. And look, every shop is different. Different spaces, different tools, different priorities. But the common thread through all these projects that I showed you today is intentionality. Building things that solve real problems in real shops. And in some cases, look, I might go a little bit overboard with the materials and the design, but that's only because I find this stuff so much fun. And outfitting my shop with beautiful, functional things makes me enjoy my time in the space even more. So hopefully this inspires you to get out into the shop and improve your space. The investment will be worth it. We'll see you next time.